Well, hello, it's Yvonne from the Fabric Hut. Welcome to my sewing room. Today I am working on a project for my granddaughter. She wanted a quilt that looks like a puzzle. And I asked her, I says, you mean like real puzzle pieces? And she says, no. I just want it to look like a puzzle. And it's like, well, okay. Let's see what we can come up with. So what I decided to do was use the Winding Waves pattern. And she picked her fabric, so it's going to be wild, but she's very, very fun. She's 11 and really, really funny. And so this is what she wanted. Now, this is a die cut pattern, so it goes together real simply. However, when I was making this sample one, I was not using my usual sewing machine, and I did not have on a 1/4 inch foot. So I got a little bit, I'm not sure whether it's the die cuts or whether it was me, but I'm not real pleased with the way it comes together here in the center. However, the whole thing is made sewing curves. So I thought today we would talk about how to sew curves. So there it is. Okay, so those are all my pieces. I have cut, I don't even know if I have enough, but these are the basic pieces for right here. And then this stack back here are these. So sitting around in the evenings when I don't I don't feel like working anymore, don't feel like doing anything, but I don't want to just sit and waste my time. I sit in my recliner with a good movie on, and I will put these together. I have this whole stack of them already put together. So let me show you what you do. Now, because these are die cut, they have the little markers in the center. Now, if you've cut them by hand and you don't have those, it's the same process. I'll cut them off to show you. It's the same process. So you're going to, without those, you're going to fold it in half. Give it a little finger press right there. Fold this one in half. Give it a little finger press. And you're going to line up those two lines right there. Okay. Then I put my thumbnail about 1/4 inch down and pull this top one over like that. And you can use washable school glue, any sort of glue pen you want. I just have this little one. Put a little dab of glue right there and pop it. Now, if I were doing any curve bigger than this, I would actually use my clips. But this one is such a small curve that by the time you get the clips on there, there's not enough room to sew. So I glued these little ones, take this end and align it the proper way and do the same thing. Pop a little glue right there on the corner, like that. And one more here. And by doing this ahead of time, it makes it come together so quickly. And there we go. So now I have that all prepped for sewing. See how that is? Okay, so I'm going to set aside these guys and we will do a little sewing here. A little bit of sewing curves. People think they're pretty intimidating. I suppose when you're first starting, they might be. Ooh, let me get my phone. There we go. Okay, did you see well? I hope so. Okay, so as you know, I like to use little starter and stoppers that I then sew into other things. So I have one of those in there so that my thread doesn't make a little knot on the back. Alrighty, so we're looking at this, and to be honest with you, I can never remember which way is concave and which way is converse. So we're going to talk about the big curve versus the littler curve. So the curve that has the most fabric, when you hold it out, is that one right there. See how that kind of pulls down? It's kind of pulling down a little bit here. So we're going to put the bigger fabric on the back so that we can pull down in front of it. See how nicely that does? So this is our rounded curve. We're going to put it, before I even align it, I'm going to just get it in my machine on that section I glued and put just a little stitch right there. Now I can take and I hold this glued one, kind of give it a little pull, and see how it just almost naturally fit right in there, but it's not quite straight. So just kind of finger press it over using your 1/4-inch foot and give it a little finger nudge over, and you can just go all the way around it without any trouble at all. We'll do one more and then we'll open it up and show you. Okay, so here's my lumpy curve. Here's my inner curve. So I'm going to put the bigger curve down, drop a couple stitches. See, it gets all bunchy right there, but you'll deal with that later. So that's why I dropped the stitch first. Drop a couple stitches just to anchor it. Now I can give it a little tug and align that little edge right there. So through the middle, stop, realign, and keep going. And that's all there is to curves. Now, put one of these in, and let me show you how it turned out. Okay, cut those apart. Okay, and look at that. Now, on this part, I pressed towards the inside curve like that. I just think it goes better, but you can, either way you press, it's going to work just nicely. I just think it presses nicer going that way. Okay, so you just give it a quick press, like that, and you're all done. Just works so swell. Look at that. So I think that it's going to come together a little more accurately than my other one did because, excuse me, I can already see that I have a nice calm curl. So let me make a few more of these so we can put together a block. Okay, so I've gotten a few of these sewn. I wanted to show you on this one that I did not put it in with this side down. I put it in this way, and you can see it's fine. I didn't take it apart, but if you look carefully, it's a little bit weird here on this end, and it just isn't quite as sharp and clean as this one is. So it still works, but I had to struggle more. So that's why you put it in with the rounded curve down. Okay. All right. So now we have those there. Now I need to add one of these to each one of them. So we're going to go back to the same thing about gluing them on. Well, let's do one that's a little lighter so you can see better. Let's do this one. Okay. Gluing them on. I have the little notches on this one. If you don't, you're going to fold it and do the center. I'm going to go there, get my glue pen, and just flip it back. Put just a smidge of glue right there. And pinch it together. Do the same thing on this end. Get it lined up properly. Fold it back. Put a little glue. And pinch it together. One more time. Okay, there we go. Now on these, we are going to be sewing again with the outside curve down. So I'm going to sew them this way, and so I can adjust that up and over when it's time to sew. All right, I have all 4 of them ready to sew, so I'm going to move back over here to the sewing machine. Okay, again, we're going to have the rounded side out and put it in, lock it with a stitch or two, and then adjust. And off we go. Get to the center, stop, adjust a little bit and keep going. Hope my hand's not in your way. There we go. Oh, now I'm a little off on that one. So I may, hmm, I think I'm going to take that out because see how much extra I have there? I don't think that's going to work. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to pop about every fourth stitch. Whoop. Like that with my seam ripper. Right, there we go. And then turn it over here and grab the back thread. And you can just pull it and it'll pop that right out. Okay, get all my little short threads out of the way so I don't have any little whiskers later. Okay, let's try this again, being more careful. Alrighty, get back in lined up where I was, right there. Okay, now it's laying a little bit better. And here we go. Oh yeah, that's way better. It's this little narrow piece here that's a little tricky. So if you come along something like that and it's starting to get in your way, use a little stiletto. This one has been specially made for me. But I often will have a double pointed knitting needle here or your seam ripper or anything that you can do to get in there to where you're not getting your fingers under the machine, but you're controlling the fabric. See how it wants to pucker up right there? Just going to push it down flat again and let it keep going because I think that's how we're going to get the most accuracy. All righty, number 2. See if I can get this one a little smoother than that one. This fat part is pretty simple. It's when you get down into that little narrow thing that it wants to wander around. Okay, here we go. See if I can do it with my fingers or if I need to bring in my stiletto again. I think I'm going to. Just kind of hold that side down. There it goes. There we go. Number 3. See that fat part just wants to go really, really smoothly. There we go. Get it over there. The stiletto is really a nice idea if you're worried about sewing your finger. I, knock on wood, haven't ever sewn mine, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen one of these days. I've done other things. I've ripped my finger apart with this little thing right there, getting it too close and it comes up and yanks the skin right off the side of my finger. But I've never actually sewn through it. Now you know that I just said that publicly, so now that means I probably will here any day now, just to prove myself. Okay, and another little space holder. Okay, here we go. Let's see how it looks. Flip them apart. 1, 2. Hopefully I didn't get them out of order. Okay, back to the ironing board. Over there. Okay, now on this one, I want to iron away from this seam right here. I want to push it towards the red because if it's out here towards this narrow part, when I sew the next piece on, it's going to have to sew through all of that. So if I push it that way, it won't. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to press it towards the red on this one. Let me get in here. And because it's by its edges, I'm being really careful not to stretch. Oh, but look at, there's my little things where I had to take it apart. I'll get back and get those later. Okay, so the red one was here. that one, I don't know where it was. Oh, nope, that one was up here, wasn't it? There we go. Oh, and look at what I just did on that one. Even though I said press towards this, I did it the opposite way. No, go figure. So let's redo that one. So when you press it the wrong way, unfold it, press it really well, back flat, and then repress. There we go. It's so easy to do that, to say one thing and do another. Okay, this one. See, I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. Today. I may another day, but not today. Okay. Oh, look at that. Now, this is where the truth is going to come out, whether or not that center is going to match up better than it did on my sample block. So, okay, something I learned on the first one, because I wasn't paying good attention again. I sewed these two together. Then I added this one. Then it was time to put this one on it. It's like, wait a minute. How am I going to get that on there? I can get to here nicely, but to turn this, it just wasn't right. So, 2 parts. Sew that half, then sew this half. And that's a one continuous seam, and it works so much better. I only had to take it out once on the other one. All right, so we're going to glue this one together. Right there. I've got to keep my hands in the camera. Okay, glue pin. One little bit. Now this, when you use the water-soluble glue, like the kids' school glue pins, glue sticks, they don't gum up your needle. They do really nicely, and it doesn't make it stiff. It will wash out. This is just one I got at the quilting store, and I like it, and so it's easier for me to hold, basically. That's the only difference, is it's easier for me to hold the long skinny pen-like one versus the little short stubby one. So choose what you like, pick your favorite things, and then use them. Okay, because what works for me may not work for you, and that's okay. We all have our own style, our own way things work. Okay, last spot right here. I'm anxious to see whether or not these are going to come out as accurately as I hope they are. But again, if it's not exactly accurate, she's going to love it no matter what. Okay, so we're going to sew this one together first. Back over here. There we are. Okay. Okay, where am I at? I'm right here. So again, the red is going to be down. Lock that corner in. Oh, now when I'm seeing as I'm putting it in, I'm going to want to have my needle right here on this seam. That's where I want it to be, so it's really accurate. And thankfully, my 1/4 inch is right there. Okay, and now I need to go, by going underneath and pulling it, sometimes it's easier to get it to go, especially on this really thin little area. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Is it going to work? Get this one and to the center, adjust, stretch, and get it pulled over there. There we go. I'm not even going to look at this one until I sew the other one. I'm afraid. No, I'm not afraid, but curves, curves are so much fun. You get such fun things out of them, but they're a little intimidating at the very beginning, but they really are not hard. Get right up that same seam line, adjust it a little bit. And I really enjoy when I can get die cut curves so that I'm not having to cut those individual pieces and try and get them all accurate. Okay, we got them. Another little ender there. Placeholder. Clip there. Clip there. Clip there. Oh, I think this one, can you see that right there? I think this one is very accurate, right overlapping seam right there. Now this one, I'm not as convinced because look, it's got a little bit of a space in between those. So let's open it up and see. Okay, well, it has a little bit, but by the time it's pressed, it actually lays pretty nicely. So I'm not going to worry about that. If I were to have to stretch it, then I get that blue all the way up, but I don't have to stretch it. So I think that's going to be just fine. Let's see what this one does. Oh, look at that. Wow. Okay. And now we're going to just align these. Again, we're going to press, let's see, on this one, it looks like it naturally wants to press towards the inner one. Let's see what this one wants to do. Yeah, it's kind of wanting to press towards that inner one. And at this point, let's see, that's going to put them pressing opposite directions. So I'm going to let it do what it naturally wants to do and just give it a quick press. I know I didn't move my camera over, but you've seen pressing. You got it. You don't need to. There we go. So there we are. And now on this one, I have a few extra places to glue. I'm going to put together my center. Cap off the glue right there. I'm going to put together the end right there. I'm going to glue this very center, and I'm going to be, when I'm doing this, I'm going to be aware of where this seam hits and where this seam hits. I want it to nest together both ways. See, right there, this and that light blue, I want those to match up, and I want the other seam to match. So I want to make sure everything is in the, oh, look at how well that's going to match. So we'll get a little glue on there and lock that baby in there. We'll get a little bit on here. Lock it in. And one more. So there we go. All right. Final seam. Oop, that one came apart. I didn't get enough glue there. So let's go back and add a little more glue. Right there. Or maybe I just missed that one altogether. I don't know. And there it goes. Pinch. Okay, final seam on this little baby. I only have to make 8 million more of them. Actually, not that many. I think I need to make 72 of them, I think. Which will be a while for me to do because I have other projects. Oh, look at what I just did. I just started upside down. Now, in order to do this right, I'm going to have to go from center out so I can get this outside curve down. So I'll start right in the center where it's important that everything match up. And I will stretch that out, get it lined up, and go right along that seam line previous seam line. Curve around and get this one done. Curve around. Okay. These guys. Oops, not lined up. There we go. And now I'm going to have to flip it over so I can have that rounded curve on the bottom again and start from the center out again. Well, now I did anchor this, so that's going to be helpful. Ready. And now we're going to get that out of our way a little bit. I don't want to take him all the way out, but now I can have a little space that I can still use him for pull so I don't get the thread lock. And adjust that down. Just like that. There we go. Off we go. And one is beautiful. All right. Guys ready to see how well I did? I don't know. In there. I think by the end of the 72, I'm going to have quite a few of my little pieces saved. Okay, we're going to go back over here to the ironing. And on this one, I think we're going to just let it, I think I'm going to have to spin this seam. Right here, there is a really thick amount of fabric there. So if I spin that little seam like that, that's going to spread out that bulk a little bit more. There it goes. And then this will press, this one's going to press towards the center. And this one is going to press towards the center also. There we go. Everybody's happily pressed. Well, we did pretty okay. What do you think? I think I may have to work on this a little bit more and get more consistent because it shows on a few, but then it doesn't show on one. So I think I have to make a decision if I want that seam to go all the way in and have just a little bit of color or not. But then again, it's going to be such a busy quilt that it's not going to make a big difference. You're not going to notice that. So, but I will come up with a consistent way to do it. And there we go. I hope you enjoyed sewing curves with me today. So thanks for joining me. If you have any questions or anything else I can help you with, you can always send a message to customercare@fabrichut.com. Thanks for joining me.